waited for the Congress who will happen in September in Amsterdam.
Is that still going on, or?
The latest news I got was that they will let it happen. For me, it will be to see if I can make it.
Of course.
If I can enter Europe also.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
And if I'm allowed back into Japan after that also. So
Yes.
we will have to see how everything evolves. But the Congress, they are talking about having like 50 people in one group. Normally the room was for 200 people, but it will be like groups of 50 people in a room, was normally for 200. And they will ask the people to work only with one person.
Got it.
During the workshop. So it's
Yes.
workshops from 3 hours.
Yeah.
You will stick to one partner. That's the latest news they had. So
yes, yes.
Things can
Of
still
course.
evolve, or
Of course, yeah.
can still be cancelled if there comes a second wave. So that's I have to wait and see.
So
but my
maybe,
intention was to present my book in September.
yes, yes.
And
That's so exciting. I mean, another book into the community. It's there's a lot of books that were going to be presented in the Congress. So it's nice to get some new books into the mix.
Actually, it's a new book. At the same time, it's a very old one.
Of course, yeah, yeah. I understand.
It's the first time it will be translated completely in English. Some people translated already parts of it, but it's the first time we have like a complete English translation. There exists already since a few months an Italian translation, so they did a great job there already. But this will be the first time in English.
Wow, how exciting. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about yourself, you know, your journey, a little bit about how you came about to Shiatsu, and how it kind of metamorphosized for you over the years, and kind of where you're at right now.
So, yeah, where to start?
That's a book by itself, I know.
Actually, what I like to talk about is mainly how I use Shiatsu in my practice, and that's my aim also, like with the translation I did or with other work I have done. My aim is to get better as a practitioner. And as a byproduct, I see it, I am a teacher, because teaching helps me to refine my skill. I have to explain all the time what I'm doing. So it's quite a challenge. But so that I have been doing the last 25 years. I have been teaching, actually almost every weekend. So I've been working quite a lot as a teacher, but during the week, I'm very happy to be in my practice, and I don't need to talk. I don't need to explain anything. I just can tune in and
yes.
Enjoy to.
How do you juggle? How do you juggle both of them?
I find they complement each other very well. So, like, yeah, when I have to teach, I get inspired. I see new perspectives, because also to teach people who are new to Shiatsu, somehow you look through their eyes and you can discover it new every time. So that I enjoy very much. So after a weekend, then when I'm in the practice, then somehow it refreshes one's view on Shiatsu to have both.
That's beautiful. And
the last months have been a challenge, because we moved in October to Japan. So it's only 8 months we are in Japan, something like that. Yeah. So I have to build up practice from scratch again.
Just like a student
Yeah,
graduating.
it's great. It's a whole other public. But then came Corona, of course,
Of course.
so it gave me some time to write. But now I start to miss the contact and the practice somehow.
Yes. Yes.
To answer your
yeah, go ahead.
excuse me,
No
to
worries.
answer your question, actually, I started because as a teenager, as a child, I had quite some health issues. So I had asthma and was not so strong. I had to take a lot of antibiotics as a child. So I have been looking to different modalities to help me. So when I was 16, I came in the first time in contact with yoga. And actually it was a Japanese kind of yoga. It was Oki yoga.
Oh, never heard of it.
It's like very much emphasis on the Hara.
Okay.
So strengthening the Hara. And that helped me quite a bit actually. And by some people I got introduced to Shiatsu, and from the first moment I got the treatment, I was hooked. So before that, I had been looking in many different things. I studied history of art and completely other things. But when I found Shiatsu, then I knew what I wanted to do. So since that moment, that has been my life. So.
Beautiful. How did you, who introduced you to Shiatsu? Maybe who was your first teacher?
Actually, it was a Norwegian person. I was traveling in India.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned in the article. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that became my first teacher, was someone more in the shamanic tradition, one could say.
That's
And
amazing.
who opened so many things. So I traveled with that person to Norway and spent some time. For me as a Belgian, it was very new to be in nature. I think for you, you're closer to nature in
Surrounded. Yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
But as a Belgian, you come from a very urban area. It's just a few parks. You're happy when you see a tree. And then to come in Norway and middle of the forests, mountains, all the animals.
Yeah, Norway is very similar to British Columbia here.
Can imagine.
Yeah, I was there when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first place I traveled without my family. I represented, at the time we were living in Israel, and I
Mm.
represented in soccer, in football. And we played, you wouldn't call it the World Cup, but it was a tournament for youth. And it was held in Oslo and Copenhagen. Yeah. So it's something I would never forget. Yeah, it's just the beauty. And when we immigrated to Canada, I was like, wow, it's like Norway. There's water everywhere, forests. Yeah, it's amazing. Very similar.
Yeah, when I see the house behind there, it looks a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, it's a very
That's
lush, very green here. Oh, hopefully
yeah.
one day you can come and visit.
Okay, that would be great.
Yes, you would love it
Just
here if you love
just
nature.
16 hours on a plane. Mm,
So you met this Norwegian teacher
yeah,
who, from what I remember, was introduced you also to Vipassana meditation.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that actually was my main practice some time then, meditation, and I did quite some long meditation retreats.
we also have that in common. I did
Okay,
that.
wow.
Yeah, I did that all of my 20s.
Okay.
So from the age of 22 to almost 30. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
good base, huh?
it was a lifesaver for me at that time. My life
Mm,
changed because of it.
yeah.
Yeah, at such a young age, I was also going through a vulnerable time, and luckily I found it. Yeah, yeah, and it changed the course of my life. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also in India, I found a Shiatsu master, but I didn't train with him. But I had an encounter that also, which I didn't know at the time. Only 6 months later, it was a pivotal in me choosing Shiatsu.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. India is something else. Yeah, India was incredible.
mm.
Yeah, beautiful,
It's
ancient place,
mm,
and
magical
yeah,
place, huh?
exactly.
Everything is possible there.
Everything, and sometimes from 1 hour to another hour. You see the extremes from 1 hour to another hour, from one day to another day. It's just unbelievable. Again, for a young man at that time, for me, it was very humbling.
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely,
I think that's the
definitely.
word that
Mm,
I experienced. Whatever stuff I was going through in my life at that time, when I was there, I was humble,
mm,
and I came back. I was not the same. Yeah,
mm.
yeah. So yeah, that's the journey, right? That's an amazing journey. So so what would you like to talk about then? Get more into your practice and how it is right now, or do you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
it's up to you what you're interested in, but that's something I like to talk about. Of course, the ampuku I enjoy very much
Good.
because I combine it with other modalities. I combine it with
Osteopathy?
osteopathy, especially the visceral work and
Yeah, the
the
visceral work is
fascial work.
yeah.
So that's still, how to say, research I'm doing also, how to bring the two together. Because for me, I see them as not separate. It's okay, we have
Absolutely.
the anatomy of the meridians, but you have also the more physical anatomy. So
Yes.
both are just different ways of looking at the same thing.
Yes. And also different options to access.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty. It's one of my teachers was also a visceral uh, manipulation therapist, and I learned a lot from her about the Hara.
Mm.
Yeah, it's something that I was very much interested in too. Um, but it'll be great to talk, yeah, about the book. I think people will be very interested
Mm-hmm.
about Ampuku, and the last fellow that I interviewed, Billy. You know,
Mm.
he
Mm-hmm.
he's like a walking library. He has so much insights into. I need to have a few more conversations with him because he
Mm.
has so much insights into the history of Japanese arts, period, the martial arts and the healing arts.
Mm.
And he's also in the process of helping translate uh, old books together with Ivan and a few other fellows. So just to hear from him some of the old traditions and
Mm.
information in a way that hasn't passed on to modern shiatsu, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I feel like we, as a shiatsu collective, we are together with someone like you and others in the community. We are filling in the gaps and bringing forward some of the some of that old knowledge, right?
Mm.
And I think that's very, for me as a therapist, that's very exciting, to get insights into those old texts, and even just the table of contents that Billy translated from one of the books. It was so fascinating. I could have asked him 1,000 questions. Yeah, it's so interesting to just bite into that knowledge and have access to it. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I saw that interview you did, or that meeting, or how you can call it.
Podcast interview. Yeah.
Yeah. So very interesting. It's good. So that's the thing I enjoy with those times now, that we have first of all, we have the time to do this. Normally I'm quite busy in the practice or busy teaching, but that's a positive thing about this whole crisis, that we had the time to pause and to reflect, and just, for me it was mostly on my bicycle. I was cycling around here in Fukuoka, and just pondering or looking, sitting in the forest or in the mountains here, and just thinking about all those things, or reading a book. So it gives us the opportunity to reflect more somehow.
Yes. Yeah, it's a blessing.
And to connect with each other with this way. So
yes.
I saw, actually, I became aware of your meetings through Nick.
Nick
Because
Paul.
Nick Paul is a good friend. Every time I'm in London, we meet and we eat something together. So, because I have done quite some training in London also.
Oh, you have? Okay, in the past?
Yeah, also with the visceral work. There are
Yes.
very,
Okay.
very good osteopaths, and some of my teachers are there. So every time I'm there, so I give him I send him a message, and then we have a chat together, or we eat something in a restaurant. He's a very nice guy. He's so
nice.
so knowledgeable, and he has such a deep insights on the level of language and how to communicate in the practice. It's very inspiring.
Very much, very much. Yes. I was in Vienna at the Congress they had there, was it 2 years ago? And I took the class with him there, and I was so impressed, because my interest personally is been working with trauma, and again, to have his approach and his way of communication. Yeah, I definitely took with me a few gold nuggets to bring back to my practice. Yeah, that's huge, because in here in North America, especially, people like to talk. And instead of just talking, they go to a lot of psychotherapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors, and to have a language that directs them back continuously to the body. Yeah, that's a great tool. Great tool to have. And it's so refreshing for them too, where they get out of their heads and allow the body to communicate.
Sometime I teach in the school in Vienna, the Hara.
Hara Institute.
Yeah. So next time I will be there February next year. Yeah.
What kind of things do you share with them? What do you?
So the next workshop I will be giving will be looking. How do we call it again? Looking beyond symptoms. We talk. Yeah, it's more direct diagnostic tools somehow that I used and developed. Actually, directly asking the body which tissues to access.
Beautiful.
So that's also something actually who is inspired by Jean-Pierre Barral, the man who
Yes,
initiated visceral osteopathy, and he is amazing practitioner.
he's a genius. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's really a genius. Yeah, yeah. I purchased some of his uh, DVDs.
Yeah. Ah, wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is like he's like an artist. I mean,
Yeah.
in every sense of the way, right? The
Mm,
way he looks, even the way he presents, even the way he draws, his knowledge of the anatomy, and even his love for drawing it, and then the technique itself, the sensitivity of touch. Yeah, it's like watching a Pavarotti, or someone, a high level artist. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. They, they are so good in refining their listening skills. So
Yes,
they have courses, they call it listening techniques.
yes.
And it's amazing because like I did, before I came to Japan, I did one workshop and we had to work on each other. So I said, okay, I can feel in the trapezius that there is some tension. So holding on the head and then feeling where all the tensions went in that person. But the teacher said, yeah, but that's not enough to know that it's trapezius. You have to see, is it the anterior, posterior part? Or these guys, they go really into the minus detail. It's amazing. But not just, and not at all for showing off. Actually, really to be able to help the person in a very precise way. And that I enjoy to bring to my shiatsu because I'm more the artistic guy and feeling the energies and okay, yeah, okay. But they challenge me to be really precise and
Mm.
to go into details.
So if you had to compare, it's beautifully said, and I agree with you 100%. Uh, because I've worked with some osteopaths here too that are great with their palpation skills, and we did some exchange work. But if you have to compare the two, let's say you take someone like Baral, and you take a top equivalent Shiatsu master, how would you compare the levels of sensitivity? Because in shiatsu therapy too, we have a high level of sensitivity that we it's in our therapy, it's in the bloodlines of our therapy, and if you're really serious about the craft, you try and develop it, refine that sensitivity all the time. How would you, in your words and your experience, will compare the two?
Well, what I see with both Jean-Pierre Barral, for example, who is very high level, and some of his teachers that I have met,
So,
and some of the Japanese teachers who have that I have met who are very high level. Somehow is the apparent simplicity with what they work. So they have so much knowledge, but they can bring it together in a very simple way. And also what I enjoy very much and what they have given me somehow is also to be at ease. Because I had like one of my teachers, was asking, what are you doing now, and what do you see, and all this wanting to know. And he said, I don't know. So he looked so confident in his art, but it's his ability to be in the not knowing somehow. Accumulate so much knowledge with meridians, the Shiatsu people, energies, and the osteopaths so much with the anatomical knowledge they have. And to have this knowledge with you, and then to step in the unknown, and to meet a person very respectful and really listening to what the body of the client tells us. Because that's the difference I see with someone who is still learning and trying to be a good practitioner. It's very quick putting a label on someone, or it has to be like this, or trying to put it in a box. It's somehow, when I see Jean-Pierre Barral work or some very good Shiatsu practitioners, they are very open to discover somehow, so at ease. That's something that I find is the biggest gift they give somehow, and to trust in our art, to trust, okay, we are manual therapists, and that's an amazing tool we have. We don't need to also be acupuncturist, and we don't need to have knowledge about herbs. Okay, it's okay to have some of that knowledge, but actually to choose to really go deep as a manual therapist. Because I see so many of also my students, they learn Shiatsu, but after some years they don't feel really confident. They don't want to go through this period of not really knowing exactly what you're doing until you accumulate enough knowledge to your practice that you become more confident. So they go very quick for searching something extra outside of the field of manual therapy. I find it's okay if you stay in our field of touch and healing touch. But I find it such a pity that there is somehow this lack of trust that, okay, at a certain point, if you continue to stay in your practice, you can do amazing things with your manual therapy work, with your Shiatsu. You don't need all the rest. So that's something I think I have learned over the years. But I see more and more young practitioners, young students who come. They have like already a plan. They want to become a Shiatsu therapist, but they are at the same time want to be a yoga teacher, and they want to study NLP at the same time. And so, because they know, okay, at the end of my Shiatsu career, then I do one more year, and then I'm a yoga teacher. Then I do NLP because it's also very interesting.
I call it sexy.
Yeah, but I find it such a pity that somehow not choosing for this one path. At my time when I started with Shiatsu, we didn't have all these possibilities. So it was a blessing, actually. You look back. Now you can do so many courses online, and and get so many certificates.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
actually, our manual therapy is so powerful to really trust in our medicine. That's somehow a message I really want to get through.
I was just thinking, wow, so many shiatsu therapists need to hear what you just said.
Mm.
You know, it's almost like we need examples from many shiatsu therapists need examples from the elders, let's say, that are still walking into the depth of the therapy. In a way, it's like being on a road, and when you don't have a reference of how far to go, you want to take another road. But if you have somebody that says, wait a second, you don't have to turn left, just keep going. There's so much waiting for you. And if we have enough of that voice, I think many shiatsu therapists will continue on that road.
Yeah. So actually, that's the main thing I would like to share.
That's perfect.
Because that I find so important in these times, that you just a few clicks and you enroll on a course, and you become a breathing therapist or a yoga teacher. Now you can become a yoga teacher online. I saw it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in my younger years as a therapist, I had the same thoughts. I'm like, maybe I should learn acupuncture, or maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, and maybe I should completely change. But every time I had that maybe, something inside said, no, it doesn't, it's not you, it doesn't feel right. And you got here a treasure, just keep going, just be diligent, keep working. And I'm so glad that I didn't, you know. Yeah. Really glad that I did.
Great you didn't.
Yeah. I'm really glad that I did. But many of my colleagues, even in my graduating class, many of them have changed directions. You know, they either become therapists in other modalities, some become acupuncturists, some become massage therapists, some physio, some, you know, altogether leave shiatsu. Yeah. I've seen a lot of that. Yeah. Yeah, actually, me and Ohashi, we're talking about just that also. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about just that, and his intention was also to try and, in a way, help shiatsu therapists understand that you can be thriving in your practice.
Definitely.
And that's always been my feeling. And that's what actually always brought me back from changing my mind, because the belief was, if I'm so in love with this therapy, and in a way it's in my essence to do this, that I just have to trust that success will come. You know, I will be successful in my practice. And actually meeting Ohashi, I met him. I helped to bring him here about 9 years ago. And after spending some time with him, and him telling me, in a way, his life story and his path, and his many failures too. Not enough successful teachers or masters talk about their failures. So when I heard about his failures, that gave me actually more courage. You know, and that was very helpful at that time.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would be very boring if there were no failures.
That's right.
It's part of life, huh?
That's right. Yeah, and it's part of succeeding. Also, you have to fail. to succeed. Also, you can't. It's not a trajectory like that. There's always pain and loss and you know, in the process. Yeah. Yeah. So that's beautiful. We can definitely bite into that and lead the conversation into it. And maybe even calling it because what we are talking about is really allowing a therapist to believe that if I go into the depth of this therapy, it's enough, you know. So I'll try and come up with a headline of some sort. I'll check in with you when I have some ideas. But
that's good.
If you have some ideas too, I don't mind. You can share them with me. But I think this is a great topic to share that what you just shared with me. You know, that evolution as a manual therapist, right? And the ingredients to have that longevity and still hold on to the passion and your love for it, right? And being successful doing it. Successful in treatment, successful in practice. Yeah.
When were you thinking about
I was thinking,
and how do we do it practically because
that's right.
of the time difference also? Have you been thinking about that?
I've been thinking.
Because middle of the night, I don't know if 2 o'clock in the night my brain is still working, or hopefully not.
You know, I thought of a few options, and I'm gonna run them by you, and you let me know. One option is we can record this conversation instead of in a way going live. We can record it, and then I usually present it. I've been presenting it on Friday morning my time, and it ends up being evening in most of Europe, which is good for that audience, and it's good for the North American audience because everybody on the West Coast, it's still 10 o'clock in the morning. People on the East Coast, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So one option is to record this, and then the beauty with the page, the Facebook page, when you even put a recorded video, there's an option there to in a way, what they call it. There's an option there for people to watch it as if they're watching it live, and they can comment in a way as if they're watching it live. That's one option. Another option is doing it at a different time, you know, and just you know, synchronize. And they're gonna have to get used to me changing the time, because with Ivan I also had to change the time. He had a last minute emergency on Friday, so we actually moved it on Thursday. But I could see already some people so used to the Friday, they're like, oh, we thought it's gonna be on Friday. So
not everyone is so attentive, so they don't read so carefully. So
yes, even though I've put it. I mentioned that it's not Friday, it's Thursday, and that's when people get into the habit of having something continuous. I guess they get used to, like every habit, every pattern. People fall into that pattern, and it's like they put themselves on autopilot, and you know. So maybe it's changing the time, and I can look at the 16 hours ahead. So yeah, we'll figure a few time that seem reasonable, and we can live stream it then. And the third option, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you. Then I have to drink a few coffees.
That's right. And you have a party. We can have a party.
Yeah, maybe I don't go to bed before 3 then. Okay, I don't know.
So those are the options. Either one works for me.
I think the most realistic one, I mean, it's just to record it. Then you stay in your pattern.
Yeah.
10 o'clock people check in. Anyway, it's available from 10 o'clock on, I imagine then.
Yeah, there's again, what I'm trying to remember, it's called Watch Live or Watch Join Party Live or something like that. There's a button there that you click and people can join it as if they're watching it live, but it's not live. It's recorded.
Of course, I saw when you record it live, then there are many boxes of people you can see. So they will see only us two, but that's be okay also. Yeah?
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. And again, in the recording, we can say, usually in the format we do about 40 minutes of conversation. It's amazing how fast it goes. I mean, 40 minutes sounds like a lot, but it goes so fast. And then we leave about 20 to 15 minutes, depending on how we're doing with time. We leave for people to ask questions. And again, we can do that in a way at the end of the recording. We can say, if you have any questions for Philippe, you can leave those questions, and then you can answer them. As you see them at a later time, obviously when you're on.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. I saw also with Zoom that there is an option of sharing screen.
That's right. So that's if you want to do share some slides or.
Because actually I'm doing that with a person who does the layout of the book.
Yep.
And some parts the layout is already ready. Some chapters. So maybe I could show, like, if it doesn't take too much time also, because only 40 minutes, okay.
No, but that's the usual for, but me and you, because we'll be alone, we can do the 60 minutes all the way to the end. And then at the end of our 60 minutes, I can say, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And Philippe and I will answer as best as we can.
Okay.
So we got actually 20 extra minutes, me and you. And so you got really an hour there.
Okay. Because I have just a new program, like you can look at the book like it's really like you changing the
pages.
Yeah. So I could prepare something like you see a few pages. You have like it's up to you if you find it interesting or not.
I definitely find it interesting. I think
I
the
can
insights
show
from the book will be very interesting. At least to give them something to look forward to, right?
And does that work for recording? Then people see, okay.
Whatever we see on the screen right now,
okay,
that's recorded, that's what they're going to see exactly.
Okay, but then I can prepare something, not too much, just a few pages so people have an idea.
Yeah, maybe something that, well, I personally would be interested in something that maybe I wasn't exposed to. Oh,
yeah.
It's not something that we might know.
I have something.
Okay, good.
Actually, I have a few things that I find would be could be interesting that I didn't know when I started this.
Okay.
This.
Now you
How
got
do you
me
call
interested.
it?
What is it, Philippe? What is
This
it?
project. You will have to wait and see. No, actually, yeah, I show you.
Okay. I get the preview, the sneak preview.
Okay. And when do you think? Because I'm quite busy next week and the week after. Maybe the last week of June. Then I have quite some time.
Let me just look at the calendar here.
Are you thinking later or?
No, that's good. That's perfect because I have Ivan this week. I have and where are we? The week of the 10th. So we are going into the 26th. Will be perfect.
That would be great. So,
Yeah.
so maybe a few days before then that you can prepare it.
So we can do we can do a Wednesday this time, like we did today.
Okay.
So that will be the 24th.
Yeah.
And then between now and then, I'll come up with some kind of questions just to kind of give us guidelines. I want to leave room for some spontaneity too, because I love talking with you. It's very easy to talk with you. But I'll pose some questions. I'll send them to you.
Okay.
And let me know if that feels right for you. If you want to make changes to the questions and kind of in a way guide us through the conversation, but definitely leave room for some spontaneity. That'll be great too. Okay,
Great.
good. So I'll put that in my calendar here. So the 24th.
Yeah.
Uh,
So for me, that will be the 25th.
Yeah.
Is it around this time?
Yeah, it's perfect. 9 o'clock my time.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in.
So 16 hours ahead. That's 9, 16, 12.
It's
Yeah,
1 o'clock here. Yeah. Okay, great. Someday you have to come live then, here.
What's that?
Fukuoka is a great place.
I can't wait to come to Japan. I think I will stay there for a while. If I come to Japan, it has to be a minimum of a month. So I'm holding on until I'm in a position to take a month off.
Yeah.
So when I come to Japan, I can stay there for at least a month.
And you have to pass in Fukuoka. It's a great place. It's
tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's magic. We have the beach. It's a very long beach we have.
And what is it? The climate is. How would you describe the climate there?
At this moment, it's terrible because we are in the rainy season. It's humid. It's hot. But until a few days ago, it was quite okay. But now we have 1 month rainy season.
Okay.
So if you come, don't come in June.
I won't come in June. When is the best time to come? Springtime?
March, April.
Spring, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then October, November. It's very nice. Autumn time. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
So we are in the south of Japan.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm closer to Korea than to Tokyo, and so when I fly to Europe, I fly through
Korea.
Seoul.
Yeah.
Because it saves me some time, or I'm not so far from. I think it's 3 hours flying to Hong Kong from here. So we have an international airport here.
Beautiful.
And So we have the beach, we have the mountains. It's a long history because actually it was the southern capital of Japan was here in Fukuoka.
Oh, wow.
At that time it was Hakata. So most of the expeditions to China left from here because we are close to China or
Yes.
relatively close to China. So either through Nagasaki or through Fukuoka. So all the people who came back from China, like Kukai, all the people who had been also the Zen masters, they all passed through here. So that's why we have the oldest Zen temples in Japan, because they had to stay some time here. Like when Kukai, who came back to Japan, he brought esoteric Buddhism to Japan. He had to spend here 3 years because he had to write down everything he had seen in China. And then the emperor had to allow this information to come in Japan, because it's always a political side to religion also.
Yes.
Is this information okay? Can we accept it? And then it came into Japan. So we have the settlings here where all the diplomats came, all the Chinese. And it's also the place that the Mongolians tried 2 times to invade Japan. So they came to this beach here.
Oh, wow.
So 2 times, you know, probably from the kamikaze. So
Yes.
the wind who came, the wind of the gods.
Yes.
And so that this is the place.
Amazing. Yeah.
So here they tried to land, but they didn't manage
Didn't
to
succeed. Yeah.
invade.
Thank God.
Yeah, it would have looked different, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Totally different.
Okay.
And you married? You have kids there, or
Yeah.
everybody? All of you moved to Japan?
Yeah, definitely. We came once or twice a year before,
Okay.
but because my wife is Japanese,
Japanese. Yeah.
and but now it's great to be close to the family, and I enjoy it. I feel at home here.
I just you saying that I think I will feel the same there somehow.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's an easy place. I can imagine it's an easy place in where you are living. Canada is if you compare to many other countries, it's okay. It's relatively safe.
Yeah.
It's a
But you know what?
cool place.
Because I work with trauma so much, one of the things that I discovered that in safe places there's a lot
Mm.
of suffering.
Yeah, but that's the same thing is true here. And there is a long history of pushing down things. So.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, it's a. I've been in Canada now since '89,
Okay, wow.
and you know, how can I describe it? And it's an awkward society, and it's a society that has a lot of mental illness.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a healthy society on a physical level, because especially here in this part of Canada, so many people are outside, but at the same time, there's so much mental illness and addictive behaviors, right? And at first, at first I thought it was just coming to me. Maybe it's I'm attracted them when I was younger, but then when I actually started to research the statistics, and when I started to work with organizations that are in the front lines dealing with abuse, violence, addiction, trauma, I started to realize, wow, you know, the numbers. There's really a quiet epidemic,
Mm.
and actually with this pandemic, this epidemic is burst into the surface.
Yeah.
That even the government has recognized uh, the massive numbers, and they're now pouring money into this problem. But money is not enough. One of the biggest issues with countries, again, like Canada, what I call insular societies, where you are an individual living in your box, and you are so polite that you don't want to bother someone, and everything is good because you live in paradise. There's so much vastness here. But when something terrible happens to you, there's no community around you. And that's the biggest problem. Yeah. Yeah, it's this insular fabric that I hope with this pandemic starts to, but I see the numbers now, even with this pandemic, it's alarming. Yeah. Yeah, it's really alarming. So it's really boiling right now into the surface. Yeah. So it's a strange place, because on paper it should be paradise, and it is, but again, there's in paradise there's a lot of rotted apples. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing in this society. Of course, I'm foreigner, but I have some colleagues who told me that that's an advantage, because being a foreigner, people can open up more. Because I'm not. They don't have to keep up the facade.
Yeah, they feel safer with you. Yeah.
And I had the same experience because I lived 12 years in Sweden. Sweden is also quite.
It's another insular society, yeah. So post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a symptom of the traumatic events. It's really a disease. Top 5 countries, Canada #1. I think Holland #2.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Sweden was also in the top.
I can imagine.
Top 5.
Really.
Yeah. So when I saw those countries, I was like, oh, it's not Israel, it's not African countries. It's not the usual suspects that we think. Yeah. Because those places have experienced collectively so much trauma that they know instinctively to come together, and that regulates the nervous system. When you have support around you, that helps you feel like you're not alone, you're not isolated. And here it's the opposite in countries, again, like Canada, Holland, Sweden. When something does happen to you, right away I isolate it.
Yeah.
And it's like walking, I call it the walking wounded syndrome. You're walking around with wounds that seem not real, and then medical professionals tell you that it's all in your head. So there's a lot of suffering with that. Yeah, that's my experience.
And there with touch and Shiatsu, we can do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even the great trauma therapists around the world, including a Dutch American, I forget the name, but he has a great book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah, I've recently been reading that book.
So even if you look at what he writes there, and then there's the interviews, he says if you don't include touch into the equation, the trauma never heals. And so when I heard that, I'm like, yes. I mean, so they're coming to realize it now. And again, this is an opportunity for Shiatsu, because the kind of touch that Shiatsu provides, yeah, it's perfect, perfect for trauma. Yeah.
Great.
Well,
It's
great
a pleasure to talk with you. It's
Same. It's an honor. It's an honor and a pleasure.
So we have a time. So
Yes. So
that's great. Look forward to that.
I'm just going to put your email address here. Let me just get into it here. What's your email address, Philippe?
Maybe I can write it to you.
I'm just putting it into my calendar on my phone.
Yeah, but
You can send it on the messenger.
Yeah, I send
actually here in the chat. You can put it in the chat here.
I put it in the chat, so I will see. Philip. Because spelling in English I always find difficult.
Your English is so good.
Yeah, but spelling, it's really, if you have to say all the, because I have the French, I have the Dutch, and it's get too confusing. So I hope you can see it now.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So I'll punch that in here. Philippe. 1L, right? Philippe.
Yeah.
Philippe dot. And you got 2 P's to your name. That's so interesting.
Yeah, actually, that's the French way of writing Philippe.
Vandenbeele@gmail.com. Okay, I got it. Perfect. Well, thank you, Philippe, for your time.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to our conversation. And maybe before we also recorded at the date that we arranged, if you can come on a little bit earlier, like 10 minutes before, just so we don't have any technical problems, and then we can practice sharing the screen before we start the recording and see that that works properly.
Actually, I did a podcast before, so if you want, I have also an external microphone that for the sound quality. I don't know if that's necessary, or you think that would be helpful or not.
On my end, so far, there haven't been any, from my end, meaning my computer, there haven't been any technical issues with sound. But I do know with the last speaker, he did regret not having a mic, or he found that the sound, and I guess his connection was not optimal at the place that he chose to sit at in his place. So yeah, if you want, definitely, but I mean, I can hear you perfect. The sound is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's up to you, but we can practice that again. If we come on a little bit early, we can practice with the mic or without the mic, and
that's great.
See how that goes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a. For you, it's bedtime now.
Yeah,
I think.
it's bedtime. Exactly.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Have a good sleep then.
Yes,
good rest.
And you have a good rest of the day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye. See you. Bye.